I'm here with Terry O'Hare. She is a advocacy for disability here in Albuquerque, and you might have seen her on the news during the One Albuquerque sculpture situation that came up a couple of weeks ago. Terry, thank you for coming in. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about disability here in mobility. I should probably have a better word there, mobility. But let me start with the One Albuquerque situation. What was the basic problem with that statue as it turned out? What happened there?
Well, I think really the first issue with it is that it was done somewhat in a vacuum. You know, a public piece of art probably should have gone through a public review. Certainly there should have been plans reviewed by folks at the city, and specifically for issues like ADA compliance. So I would say that it started maybe in planning. And then I understand that it was designed and it ended up being too heavy, placed on the Civic Plaza. And so they moved it right in the street, and they put it right in the passageway, the pedestrian walkway between Civic Plaza and the convention center.
Right.
And they almost placed it on top of the detectable warning bumps that tell blind cane users you're about to cross a street. So these are regulated and federally mandated, and they were like inches from the edge of the statue. And then the design itself had compliance problems, but that was kind of the beginning of it.
There was an event that you were part of on a Saturday down there where the folks were there with canes and showing some folks in the city what the actual problem was. It was very interesting to see the pictures of folks with canes because, again, folks with sight don't think about these things. We're going to get to that in a quick second, but what's the resolution on the One Albuquerque situation now? Would someone with a cane feel safe? Is someone safe now to approach it, or is it still a problem?
I think the city may say that they feel it's resolved,
right,
but actually, according to ADA guidance and technical specifications, the barrier that is placed around the protrusion edge still does not meet ADA.
I see.
It's a series of potted plants. There's gaps between them, and they're not fixed and stable. You know, you could run up and bump into them and knock them over. It certainly lets you know, if you're a sighted person, that, you know, stay away from this big edge that's sticking out. But I don't think the disability community really feels as though the sculpture has been dealt with appropriately in terms of a solution that is safe and meets ADA.
Is there a dialogue with the city?
Somewhat.
Okay.
There was, after some of the articles, there was very little dialogue during and before, none before. But since some of the media, there's been a response by the mayor's office that they will contact me today, actually, about setting up a meeting.
Okay.
So that's hopeful. You know. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's broaden out a little bit and talk about ADA here in the city. You've been a member of the ADA Advisory Committee for here in Albuquerque, and you've been around the situation, certainly, with the city. There was an audit in 2017 that showed, and I've been reading it the past couple of nights, that Albuquerque is wildly out of compliance on a lot of ADA issues here. Things I never would have thought of. It was much bigger in scope than I thought about. What's your sense of that audit, and where are we now on that situation?
Well, I think you're referring to the Inspector General's review. Nothing has been done since that audit was done. The city does have an ADA advisory board. The board has used this audit to constantly communicate with the mayor's office, with different department heads, and with the acting ADA coordinator and say, let's start implementing this. But there has been, frankly, no response in terms of an action plan based on it.
Wow.
So,
what does the community want to see happen first? Is there a list of priorities? Is there a sense of what has, in order for the first domino to fall, they all have to come after? What's the first one?
The first one, honestly, that would help all the other dominoes, is for the city to get very serious about hiring a qualified, experienced ADA coordinator. And it should be a national search. You know, why limit it just to the state? These people exist in other cities. They'd love to come move to the mountains. And it really, someone like this needs to have the salary and the stature and the authority and the respect, you know, by the administration and department heads to really take ADA and do a matrix over the city and see where we are, where we need to go, what we may have fixed, what still is ahead of us, and really create a plan for doing that and a budget. So if that person was in place, one would hope that the city would then budget, you know, and in the past we've seen 400,000 here, 200,000 there, and we need to be in the, you know, upper millions yearly.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
Really? Okay.
You know, before we build soccer stadiums, if I may say,
It's all right.
we need
Yeah.
to focus on getting this particular issue. You know, it's federally mandated. This
Right.
isn't just a feel-good thing.
That's right.
But we should be in compliance,
Right.
or be really far along the way of getting there. No city is completely compliant, but a really strong ADA coordinator. I always recommend that it be a person with lived experience, and that means a person with a disability, because you know, in no other city department or section in our city would we think to bring in, you know, an outside voice from a whole other community and make that be in charge of another representative community. So from within is good and benefits the city so much.
Sure.
So,
And one of the pushbacks I hear, sort of anecdotally on the street, is okay, it may cost a lot of money to do this, and folks deserve to have it. Certainly, the citizenry that is disabled deserves to have it. But the amount of money for the amount of people nexus, do you know what I mean? People get weird about that. What are we talking about here when we're talking about disabled folks here, either in the metro or statewide, or are there numbers in that kind of realm?
well, I think there are, you know, I think, and it's easy. You know, before you really understand the issue, it's easy to go, I hardly see any folks with disabilities ever anywhere.
Right.
But research, census, and our own Department of Health in the state show that nationally, 1 in 5 folks has a disability.
Wow.
So that's census. And in our state, 1 in 4 have a disability, so 25%. So we have a higher incident of disability in our state. And some of the reasons that we don't see folks out and about is because they know that there's not going to be cell interpreters.
That's right.
There may be, you know, issues.